You begin with a simple objection. If God is love, why does the path begin with heartbreak? You assume pain contradicts benevolence. You equate ease with favor and loss with neglect. The logic feels sound, yet it fails to explain why pain so often precedes depth, why collapse so often precedes clarity. Rumi confronted this same paradox. He said the heart breaks not to be ruined, but to be opened. He treated heartbreak as the first instruction in divine intimacy, the initiation into reality, not a punishment. He asked, what ends when pain arrives, and what begins that could never begin before? If what breaks is only the structure that cannot contain truth, then heartbreak is not destruction. It is the real removing what cannot remain, the mercy that dismantles illusion. You review what you call strength. You notice that most of it is defense. You have trained yourself to stay intact, to manage, predict, and prevent collapse. Yet this management often conceals fear, not faith. Rumi would call this the first mistake, believing that control protects you from loss. In truth, control prevents transformation. It hides the greater intelligence that moves through loss itself. You begin to question your confidence. Perhaps heartbreak does not interrupt life. Perhaps it interrupts illusion. Perhaps what you name hurt is only the sound of resistance against what must unfold. If love seeks to awaken truth, can it do so without undoing the self that clings to comfort? What if the breaking is not a detour, but the doorway to what you actually are? For Rumi, love was not emotion but existence itself. Ishq Hakichi, divine love, was the architecture of being, not a passing state. It is the force through which the infinite recognizes itself through the finite dot in that understanding. Pain is not an interruption of love, but its operation. The wound appears wherever perception resists reality. The break is the friction between what is real and what the self prefers. Rumi did not see suffering as moral punishment. He saw it as metaphysical correction, the exactness with which truth restores alignment. When the heart fractures, it reveals what obstructed its vision. What breaks is not love, but the layer that confused longing with possession. When life collapses, you feel deprived. You assume something vital has been taken. But Rumi saw collapse as revelation, the moment the real becomes visible. The heart breaks so its content can be seen. The surface fractures so depth can appear. Each failure exposes what never truly belonged. Each ending removes what could not endure truth. Pain, then, is intelligence. It signals that illusion has reached its limit. You mourn what is gone, but the real was never lost. It only waited for falsehood to finish its course. If suffering is not punishment but purification, what exactly is being removed? The love you thought you needed, or the image that distorted it? Perhaps what hurts is not love's absence, but love's precision. Rumi taught that divine tests are not examinations of worth, but revelations of truth. God does not test faith to measure it. He tests to unveil it. Every heartbreak uncovers an attachment mistaken for identity. Each loss reorders your perception toward what truly belongs. The process feels cruel because it dismantles comfort. Yet comfort often hides error. Love must first correct before it can console. It removes the obstacle before it reveals the gift. This is why Rumi said, "The wound is the place where the light enters you." It was not poetry for him. It was metaphysics. The real cannot dwell where illusion occupies space. The breaking clears the room for truth to enter. You resist the breaking. You equate identity with continuity. You tell yourself, if this ends, I will end. Rumi saw this as the central illusion, the confusion of self with structure. What ends is only the claim of ownership. My love, my peace, my life. The self protects its borders because it fears irrelevance, but divine love does not recognize those borders. It moves through them, not to destroy, but to restore proportion. Your protest feels like survival, but it is resistance to transformation. The pain is not the loss of love. It is the friction of being loved beyond your definitions. Could it be that heartbreak is not God turning away, but God entering where the self once stood guard? When grief settles into silence, perception begins. Rumi said the broken heart becomes transparent. It no longer filters truth through desire. The ache remains, but its texture changes. Pain becomes comprehension. You begin to see that what broke you also revealed you. The fracture was not the end of wholeness. It was its unveiling. The mind that once demanded reasons now witnesses meaning. The heart that once sought possession now perceives alignment. Through heartbreak, awareness refines itself. It stops asking for permanence and starts recognizing precision. Love, you realize, was never meant to protect the image of self. It was meant to dissolve it. Rumi's concept of love is unflattering to sentiment. It is not indulgent or tender in the human sense. It is exact. Divine love does not serve emotion. It serves reality. It refines awareness until only truth remains. If comfort ends, it is because revelation begins. If happiness fades, it is because clarity has arrived. Were love to prioritize comfort, it would remain transactional, an exchange of reassurance. But Rumi insisted, love is not a feeling to preserve. It is the structure of existence returning to harmony. To be broken by love is to be refined by accuracy. If the real dismantles your certainties so that you may see, can you still call it cruelty? When resistance ends, something remains. A stillness that no longer demands resolution. You no longer pray for restoration but for reality. Rumi called this the heart of fire. Not a heart burning with desire or grief, but one illuminated by insight. It does not beg for comfort because it no longer confuses pain with punishment. This new heart has learned transparency. It receives without holding, releases without loss. Its rhythm is acceptance. Its language is clarity. What was broken was the shell of ownership. What remains is function. Love circulating without. The obstruction of fear. You begin to understand. The purpose of heartbreak was not repair, but revelation. You return to the first question. If God is love, why does he break your heart first? Because what you call wholeness was enclosure. Because what you called peace was control. Because truth cannot enter a heart still crowded by its own image. Rumi's hidden truth is this. The break is not abandonment, it is initiation. It is not the absence of love, but its arrival in unfiltered form. Through the wound, separation collapses. The distance between lover and beloved disappears. The fracture becomes union. Nothing was taken. Only illusion was removed. What remains is not recovery, but recognition. You see now that heartbreak was never love's failure. It was love's exact method. Mercy disguised as pain, precision disguised as loss. In the stillness that follows heartbreak, you begin to hear differently. What once sounded like silence now feels like comprehension. Rumi's wisdom concludes quietly. Love must empty before it can fill, destroy before it can reveal. The real speaks through the wound, not around it. To the self, that sounds cruel. To awareness, it is grace. When you finally stop defending what cannot stay, you discover what never left. The broken heart was not the end of love. It was love's first clear word.